Hey, welcome to the Pharmacy Residency Podcast. Remember the Pharmacy Podcast Network. I wanted to talk a little bit about some of these letters of intent that are available on the internet. I'm going to chop them up and tell you what to do and what not to do. So this one's from Chapman University, How to Write a Letter of Intent. The paragraph at the top, which explains how to do it, is very good. Talking about what's in the opening paragraph, what's in the middle paragraphs, and what's in the last paragraphs. These are excellent advice. But unfortunately, the letter below is an absolute disaster. And that's what I'm going to work on now. So I'm going to switch to Microsoft Word, where I can kind of cut out everything that shouldn't be here and kind of talk about some of the issues that happen when you get one of these Frankenstein letters. So a Frankenstein letter is where you take pieces from a bunch of letters and you put it together and you hope that it comes out to be a beautiful letter. And that's not how it works. So we're going to take what is in here in this letter and we're going to rip it up and we're going to make it something much, much better to kind of move forward. So let me stop here. Okay, so now this is the Word document. This letter takes a number of sentences word for word from the UCSF letter of intent, the ACCP letter of intent, my own template that I did in 2018 a long time ago. And what we want to do is we want to take out the pieces that are good and we want to, or take out the pieces that are bad and leave the ones that are good. So this is a big deal. You don't want to use these words. I'm writing to express my strong interest. This sentence right here, and I had the pleasure of meeting with your current resident or your current residents. Okay, this is directly from the UCSF letter of intent. It's just taking the words from someone else. And beyond the whole plagiarizing thing and all that is that you are trying to stand out. So if you use the exact same sentences as someone else, you're not going to stand out. Okay, so this is just really not helpful. And then at ASHP seminar, and I was very impressed hearing about the rotation opportunities, continuing education, and so forth. You're flattering in a very general way. And so you're just saying, okay, there's a bunch of stuff that I like there, but you didn't really tell them anything specific. And you haven't moved anywhere toward matching. So the only thing that's even useful out of this is to know that the person is applying to Providence St. Patrick Hospital. Okay. So let's just cut that out and we'll get rid of all of this and we'll kind of move on to the next. So your first paragraph will have that in there, but the rest is not useful. My decision to pursue residency came after I experienced the environment and team culture in emergency department during a rotation at Hoag Hospital. Okay, good. You're going to tell me a story about a rotation that you did, but then they don't. I knew at that moment I wanted to pursue health systems as a career pathway and thus began seeking various experiences in both ambulatory and acute care. Whoa, wait a minute. Are you going to do an ambulatory care residency or an acute care residency? Okay, so you really don't want to do that. Okay, you want to, here is what you want to do is let's just say I began seeking experiences in, and let's just get rid of the ambulatory because the rest of this letter tends to be acute care. So, and we'll just put in acute care. Okay, so you want to stay focused. My recent API rotation at Harbor UCLA Medical Center cemented this desire as I experienced a patient care-centered environment while being in a learning environment. What they're basically saying is I liked being at an academic medical center. Okay, so that's fine if St. Patrick's Hospital is an academic medical center, but what we really want to do is make sure that we're kind of staying on that line. Which is to go with the next part, which is, as a student, I found it especially helpful when residents verbalize their thought processes, especially during codes. You don't need to see code scenarios. As this challenged me to come up with the best treatment strategy in the moment, as they too were rolling out different diagnoses. Okay, I am drawn to St. Patrick's program and inspired by the hospital's mission to care for the poor and vulnerable. That just came out of left field. Okay, so this is completely separate. This is in a completely different area. Okay, so we'll just put that at the end because we have no idea where that belongs. Okay, all right. So what we can do is put this word, Providence St. Patrick Hospital. Okay, my decision to pursue residency at, and we'll put in the place that you're saying you want to apply to came after I experienced the environment and team culture. And so now you don't have that, I want to express it was a pleasure to meet you get right into it. Okay, well, this is why I want to do a residency at Providence St. Patrick Hospital. And it's because you had an experience at one hospital and you started working with them and said, okay, this is kind of cool. I enjoy doing this acute care stuff. You did another rotation and you built on that. And you really like the teaching aspect. And because St. Patrick Hospital, I'm assuming, is a teaching hospital, or Providence St. Patrick Hospital is a teaching hospital, that's a place that you want to be. Okay. All right. This person copied this from my template. I have developed clinical teaching, research, leadership, and community services at a high level. This is actually a thesis statement for the entire thing. Okay, so this belongs in the beginning. Okay, so that's why you did it. Okay, and now you want to put your thesis for the entire paper at the end of that. Okay, so during the past 3 years in pharmacy school, I've developed clinical, and you've talked about that. Okay, so let's put that first because this is your thesis for the entire paper. Okay, developed clinical, research, and teaching are the only things this paper talks about. It does not talk about leadership and community service, so it shouldn't be in the paper. So leadership and community service. If you do it, great, put it in there, but this paper doesn't have it. So I developed clinical research and teaching skills. Okay, now I put at a high level, so you don't want to copy off of that. You just want to change it. So, let's just get rid of it for now. During the past 3 years in pharmacy schools, I've developed clinical research and teaching skills. Okay, all right. So show me what you've done. Okay, all right. And so that would be part of the first paragraph, and then this would be the second one where you're talking about clinical. Okay, I was actively involved in clinical research and served as my capstone projects team captain. From this research, I had the opportunity to present my work on the effects of opioid use in high-risk populations at and we'll just put 2022 APHA clinical mid-year meeting. I recently had the abstract approved for presentation at the AACP annual conference in March of, we'll assume this is 2023. I plan to continue this area of research and developed a targeted consultation and monitoring program to manage appropriate opioid use in high-risk populations throughout my PGY1 residency. That's good that you now have this research paragraph that is going to support that, okay, now you've done clinical, now you've done research, and now you're going to do teaching. Okay, upon completion, I hope to pursue specialized training. This is more about your goals, and it looks like this stuff should probably be in the very beginning. Okay, so let's just put that in the beginning. Moreover, upon completion of my PGY1, I hope to pursue specialized training in a PGY2. Okay, and you don't want to be wishy-washy and put multiple areas of interest. My current area of interest includes acute care. Okay, and I believe your residency program will provide me with valuable experiences in order to point me in a lifelong direction. Okay, so that makes sense to put that at the beginning, because now you're saying, okay, I did clinical research and teaching work. After PGY1, I want to do PGY2. I'm interested in acute care. You should probably be pretty specific about what kind of acute care, whether it's cardiac or critical care or whatever, or emergency med or something like that. And then you believe that they're going to help. Okay. All right. My long-term goal is to pursue a career as a clinical specialist in an academic teaching hospital and be involved in giving didactic lectures and precepting students. This is rather, you're going to see this over and over again. So you want something a little bit more original than this. Talk about teaching people and how you've helped and show some evidence. This is just talking about what they want. It's not talking about what they've given. You want to be a giver, and by talking about what you've given, it helps a lot. I find your teaching gift through your residency and the opportunity to precept students from the University of Montana an appealing component of your program. I believe it will help me reach my career goals. That's really a summary. Okay, so let's put that at the bottom. Okay. So you would want to build out this teaching and put, more about teaching experiences here. And you would want to fill that out. It's just empty. It's just not enough in there. Okay. All right. Next thing, I believe so this is the summary. I believe your PGY1 at St. Patrick's Hospital will help me reach my career goals and refine my skills as a pharmacist. I am drawn to St. Patrick's Hospital's program and inspired by the hospital's mission to care for the poor and vulnerable. That makes sense here. Now that you're kind of talking about it and summarizing some last minute, why you want to go there. My clinical service and leadership experiences, well, that's not what you talked about. You talked about my clinical research and your teaching experiences. Okay, have helped build a firm foundation for the work to come next year as a resident. These are my words exactly. They just took them from me. I hope to continue strengthening this foundation, also my words, at Providence St. Patrick's Hospital PGY1 residency program. Thank you for consideration. Look forward to speaking to you soon. Sincerely, Pete the Panther, Pete at Chapman, blah, blah, blah. All right, so the take-home point here is that when you start with this and you do your first revision, worry a lot less about the individual words and about the big pieces. So let's do that. So this is introduction with goal, okay, PGY2 in this case, and 3 things you're going to talk about. Okay, and we'll put that there. Okay. So that's what you did there. Okay. And we'll highlight that in yellow. The next one, okay, you talked about clinical experience. You should probably talk about work experience here too. Some residencies will not take you if you've not worked in a hospital before. So make sure you make sure it's top of mind. Clinical experience, great. Then here we're going to put research experience. Great. And then in the 4th paragraph, it's going to be teaching experience. Okay. And then in the 5th one, it's going to be summary. So what you've really done is you want to make it so that it's really easy for someone to say what you said. And let me explain that. So if I want to summarize this and I say, okay, I read Pete the Panther's letter of intent, and I need to be able to summarize it to my RPD. Okay, well, tell me about Pete the Panther. Well, Pete the Panther wants to do PGY2. They're interested in acute care. They were over at Hoag Hospital and Harbor UCLA Medical doing acute care work. They did research on opioids. They were interested in the teaching certificate program, and they taught in what, and that's what's missing there. And then, they like that we are, helping with the poor and vulnerable, and they have experience working in a free clinic. Okay, so you need to be able to give the elevator pitch to the reader to pass on to the committee. And so that's why it's so important that this work and that this be something that you can just go, okay, this is what this person's about. Here are 3 things that they've done, clinical research and teaching, and in summary, here's what it is. Okay, good. All right, well, let's put Pete in the interview pile. That works. If you go with what the original letter did, which was take pieces from all over, talk about service and leadership experiences that aren't even in the letter, then that person can't communicate that, and you've broken the chain. So your job as someone who is going to do this, your job is to make it easy for the reader to recommend you, okay? And that's what I do. I chop up the letter that you give me, I turn it into something like this, and then I ask you the questions that I need. I'm like, okay, well, I need more teaching here. I need more there. I need to know a little bit more about the research that you did. I need to know what your work experiences is. And then I can put everything in the letter, and then we can fix it, and then we can get on with it. So if you want my help, residency.teachable.com. But hopefully this is helpful. If you are at Chapman, I think that first section is absolutely, stellar. That tells you what to put in the letter. But this letter was an absolute disaster. I think that you need to make sure that when you're looking at letters that it does follow this really easy to read introduction, clinical research, teaching summary, so that it's a lot easier to use. So you need my help, tonythepharmacist@gmail.com, or a lot of people get me up on LinkedIn. I'm Tony PharmD. That's fine too. Maybe a more comfortable way to talk to me. But don't suffer through this. Just let me help you with it. Just trust me. If your toilet backed up or your sink was not working, you would call a plumber. If you are someone who is not a writer, just bring a writer in. I can help you learn to be a writer pretty quickly and get the things that I need so that you can get the template and a unique template for the other 10 or 12 of these that you got to write.